What's going on, guys? It's Kyle again with DTOM Knives and Gear. And today we're going to be talking about this little guy. This is the OHLONE GOAT version 2. This knife is on loan from my good friend and brother that you already know, Lefty EDC. Lefty EDC is a true friend. You hear his name all the time on the channel. You will continue to do so. Me and him have a show called On the Edge every other Saturday. It goes back and forth between mine and his channel. It's a live stream called On the Edge. Definitely come check it out. Just stay tuned for channel post between mine and his to find out. It's always going to be at 7 Central, 8 Eastern every other Saturday. So definitely go check that out. He is awesome. We also have Jake from Bearded Gear on. Try to get as much as we can out of Jake because he is so busy. But he basically is the third member of that little party. But anyways, Kevin sent this guy over for me to check out. Kevin has raved about this little knife here. I didn't even know that the company existed or the brand existed until Kevin. And so he's actually got 2 of these. That's how much he really, really likes this knife. So what are we working with? If Kevin likes it, it's got to be good, right? Because he's a picky bastard. So this is a titanium bolster lock because, I call it a bolster lock because it has these overlays here. And so you only have that much of the lock bar sticking out, which is nice, especially for a lefty. This is a right-handed knife, and you cannot reverse the clip. Because it insets into the scale, so it's a dedicated right-handed knife. But for lefties, it works well because of that right there. You don't have any problems with putting pressure on the lock bar to get this thing to fly out. So this one is wearing, it's black titanium with green G10 inlays. Very beautiful. He did like a inlay swap, so now I think he's got a plain titanium with red and the black with green. I think the black and green looks really, really cool. This is definitely how I would go. And then you have an M390 Blade. These are made by Riot, if I remember correctly, and if I know Kevin, he doesn't really keep anything unless it's American made or made by Riot. So made by Riot, M390 titanium, and a really nicely done G10 overlays on each side. You do have a tie pocket clip, at least I think that's tie. Yep. That does not sit deep carry, but it sits deep enough. And then, of course, you have the matching green back spacer. So aesthetically, as far as materials, I like. It's not the most beautiful looking knife to me, as far as the way it looks. It's nice, but it doesn't scream beautiful. It's a very kind of a plain Jane, and I usually like plain Jane designs, and this one's no different. I kind of like it. However, it's put together, it's Riot, right? It's put together awesomely. Fit and finish, rounding corners, flipper tab, dead centered. I'm pretty sure he's probably put different bearings in here, may or may not, because, Riot just does a really good job. But it's something that doesn't really get me going. It just doesn't. Now, granted, it's a flipper only knife. Flipper only always gets boring to me. But I will have to say that the detent and the way this thing flips out is fucking stellar. It is definitely impossible to fail. So in that aspect of being a flipper and a smaller flipper, that's great. That's actually amazing about this knife. And I think that's probably what really drew Kevin to want to keep and actually get even more of these. He's got 2 of them, is that action, because the flipping action is just amazing. Now it does run on ceramic bearings, lighter blade, very smooth. It does have to shake shut. You get it to drop and then just kind of shake it. Very, very smooth, centered right down the middle, all that stuff. Now, because it is a smaller flipper, I do have a problem most of the time with the flipper tab getting, hitting my thumb and then doing that, where it doesn't drop all the way. And then when I try to close it, sometimes it will back right back up and do the double detent kind of thing. double clutch, I guess what you call it. That's annoying as shit. I hate it when a knife does that, but that probably has a lot to do with my fucking big old fingers here, right? So as long as I back up off of this, you know, you don't have a lot of room because you only have that much, but if I bring it at the bottom and let it drop, it usually gets past it and I don't have an issue. I just don't like that I have to do that, but it's a common issue with smaller flipper knives, guys. It just is. This one just happens to have it. The flipper tab is really nice. It's actually pretty minimal. I mean, it sticks out, but it's pretty small. It's not minimal. It's just a little crook's nose. But it just really, really works amazing. The jimping on it is great. It's fine. It's the only jimping on this knife, except for if you want to call the backspacer jimping. So yeah, it's okay. I will say that the grind on the blade is gorgeous. Maybe if I'll show you, there you go. The blind on the blade is gorgeous. On the blade is gorgeous. It's just, you know, this up and down belt satin, full flat grind on this blade. Comes really, really sharp. This one in particular is pretty slicey. I'm not going to do a full cut test on this, but I've got some cardboard here just to kind of show you. It cuts through cardboard amazingly. It's going to fly through it. That is due to that big flat grind, not a very big blade, but the full flat grind, relatively thin blade stock, and the thinness behind the edge is about 18 thousandths, so you got about 117 thousandths blade stock. So good geometry for your EDC knife. That's what this is. It's definitely an EDC knife. It's not going to do your harder task, and it's not designed to do that, right? It is just a great EDC knife. Now, I will say this. It's surprisingly heavy for how small it is. That's, I think, is going to give a lot of people a hard time. We'll do some specs when we turn the camera around, but just holding it in hand, in pocket, it doesn't bother me at all, and I don't feel it because I carry a lot of heavier knives. But in hand, when I pick this thing up, it's like, whoa, it feels like it should be a lot lighter than it is. It is due. I mean, it's got, titanium. It's actually pretty thick. It's not overly thick, but we're about, it's really not even that thick. It's like 475 thousandths. Just feels heavier to me. It just does. It's just not exciting. Kevin loves this knife, and it just does. And usually, I mean, I've actually bought, you might have seen the review of this guy, this little Wingman Mach 1. It's a smaller knife, but I bought this from Kevin. He said that he was probably going to get rid of it, and of course, I did get a bro deal. Thank you, Kevin. But I was really, really impressed with this knife. When he said he was going to sell it, I ended up picking this thing up. There is a role for me as a backup secondary knife, and this thing being a hole deployment and a top flipper, front flipper, just is very satisfying and fun to play with. So I could carry this as a backup blade all day, every day, and have no problems. This one right here, I wouldn't have any problems as far as function, but as far as fidgety, good action. I mean, watch this. This is Riot made as well. Fall and just smooth. This one is too, but it's not near as satisfying as this little guy on deployment and close. So yeah, I'm impressed with what they're doing, except the price point. This thing, I'm just going to look again. Just make sure I'm not smoking crack. This thing is $270. I get it. It's Riot made. You're going to pay more for Riot, right? Because the manufacturing quality you get from that company is amazing, right? The Wingman. You got M390 titanium G10. You've got G10 and LMAX steel. $180. One of my other favorite Riot knives, smaller knives that I like to carry. the F5.5, a gift from my brother Kevin, who had it modified to accept my big old fat fingers. This M390, no wait, this is LMAX, isn't it? Some of them came in LMAX, some of them, yeah, this is LMAX. But titanium liners, titanium pocket clip, Riot manufacturer, $200. So I honestly think this knife is overpriced. Even though it is good, it's overpriced in my opinion. Now, if this is your deal and you like a good snappy flipper only and you like this form factor, you might say, Kyle, you're crazy. That's just not true. You're being biased because you just don't like the rest of the knife. And you might be right. You might be right. But looking at those two other knives and their price point versus this, I just think it's overpriced. Sue me. I think it is. So anyways, it is very nicely done. Let's turn the camera around. We're going to put it up against some of the ones I just showed you for size comparisons, get some specs, because it's not a big knife. It's pretty small. It's a neutral enough handle. Before we turn the camera around, I guess I need to talk about ergonomics, right? So you've got your flipper tab here. So your finger is stuck right there at that little portion. And then you wrap your fingers. My finger is falling off, but it's on there, but it's falling off. And for the most part, it's pretty comfortable ergonomic. It's just my hands feel a little cramped because of where that flipper tab is. There is no flipper choil. I mean, this is not a finger choil. Maybe if you've got tiny little baby hands, you might be able to do that. Not me. But for the most part, it's as comfortable as I would expect it to be. It's nothing spectacular. I just wish I had a little bit more handle to stay onto. Not a huge deal. If it had a finger control where I could choke up, it'd probably be a lot better. So now let's flip the camera around, get you some specs and some close-ups on the OHLONE GOAT version 2. All right, so get a little closer look. As you can see, I like the color of the black and titanium. It is relatively cool. It is not got any texturing or anything, or on the G10, so it's relatively smooth, but it is contoured slightly. The G10, the transitions are absolutely stunning. There is no transitions. It looks like it is one piece, feels like it is one piece. Riot does an excellent job there. There is a closer look at your very nice pocket clip. Nothing special, doesn't really create a hot spot or anything like that. G10 backspacer. There is the jimping on your flipper tab. And yeah, it flips out like it's supposed to every single time. But then it does that double clutch thing because I have big old fat fingers. So I got to make sure I go down here. And even then, shit. It's just not great for somebody with big hands in that aspect, or big fingers rather. But I can definitely see why lefty likes this left-handed. It really works well for a lefty in that aspect. And I mean, it's got a gorgeous grind on the blade, typical drop point. I mean, there's nothing bad going on here. It's just really not my cup of tea, usually the way this thing looks, because it's just not, I mean, it's just a knife. It's a knife. Nothing really flashy, right? But as you can see, it being in the circle, it's not exactly a big guy. You do have an overall length of 7 inches. 7 inches can be fine for me on certain designs. On this design, I have a little bit of pinky sticking off. It's not the most comfortable because of that, but it's doable. You do have a blade length of 3 inches, handle length of 4 inches. And so 3-inch blade, right? And that's kind of being generous, but 3-inch blade, let's see what it weighs. It feels heavy. I'm not sure what it's going to weigh. So 3-inch blade at 2.9, that's actually right on the money. Right on the money as far as the ratios. So I can't give it that. For some reason, to me, it feels like it's heavier than it is, but 2.9 ounces, that's an excellent weight for, you're getting a 3-inch blade at 2.9 ounces. It's basically right there at the ounce per inch. So why am I complaining? I don't know why. It felt heavier than that, though. I will say that, but it's definitely not. And then, like I said, with that full flat grind, you've got about 100 and, what I say the thickness was. Oh, I know it's 18 thousandths behind the edge. Blade thickness of about 115, 120, 117. But I would say close to 120 thousandths. So, you know, it cuts. It does what it's supposed to do. It is very sturdy. It definitely doesn't feel like it is janky at all. It's definitely a very well-built knife. The lockup is good. Lock bar insert, all that good stuff. So it's got a lot going for it, guys. Let's just go ahead and put it up against some of the ones that I really like as far as these smaller knives. Here is the Wingman EDC Mach 1. As you can see, it actually is a tad bit smaller. So, Kyle, why do you like the Wingman when you don't like this? It's because of the flipper tab, guys. Because on the Wingman, I have this little area right here where I can put my finger and then get all 4 fingers around it. And it's really comfortable. This knife surprised the shit out of me. Like I said, I actually ended up purchasing this from Lefty EDC because I was so impressed by it. You know, back here, not so much, pinky hanging off. I don't hold the knife like this. I hold the knife like this, and it works amazing. So ergonomically, this is so much better than, than this guy. Now you've got G10, titanium. Does this thing have titanium liners? I can't tell. I can't tell if this thing has titanium liners or not. But anyway, G10 and L-Max steel, but 180 bucks. I think that's great for that. Now that's a deal. This one at 270? Yeah. And why again do I say that? Because of this. L-Max steel, micarta. It's just such a better knife in my opinion. Also made by Riot at $200. So as you can see, they're pretty similar as far as the overall length. You probably have just a little bit more thickness there on that one. The action on the f5.5 is actually really good as far as I've actually got some Loctite sitting on this one, so I probably don't need to be messing with it, but it does fall and then shake shut really smoothly. It's a little bit more like this one. I can tune this though to get it a little bit better, but this ergonomically is so much better than the OHLONE Goat because of its features. Now, I'm not knocking the knife because of that. I mean, these are features that work well with my big hands. This one could work just fine with somebody with smaller hands. You know, I'm just bringing these out here for that kind of size comparison and for the price comparison because that is a big difference. Some of the other smaller knives that I have in the collection that I do enjoy. Here is the Quiet Carry Drift. And as you can see, it's pretty similar to that. And then, of course, the Fermforge Stinger. Stinger is just a little bit longer. So, you know, yeah, it's small, but I have knives in my collection that I enjoy quite a bit more because of the ergonomics, the deployment methods. This one, I absolutely know that I will not buy. Can I recommend it? I don't even know if I can recommend it at the $270 price point. It's very good. It is a very, very snappy flipper. I mean, and that's really the best thing about this knife is the fact that it flips amazingly. The detent is tuned awesomely. And then, of course, you have some premium materials, right? Well, if that's the only thing that you're worried about is the Civivi riffle, the detent and action on this guy is better than that on the close. Probably a little bit less nice on the flipping action versus that. This detent feels a little bit more crisp, but awesome. I'm just saying, definitely a cheaper knife. You have multiple deployments and whatnot, but I mean, the flipping action on this guy feels really close to that guy. You don't have the premium materials. It's just, if you're looking for a really nice flipper, I think there's just better options out there with these materials and having a good flipper. I just don't know too many that right off the head because flipper only knives don't appeal to me as much. But yeah, I hate to do it. I can't recommend it. I just can't. I just don't think it's worth the price. I do like, you know, the designer and the name, the OHLONE knives after an Indian tribe. Derek Costa, I think's his name. I do respect that guy and the story behind OHLONE knives. If you get a chance to go check out their website and read about that, that is really, really cool. But, you know, maybe he won't see this because it's a good knife. I'm not saying it's not a good knife. It is. I just think it's a little pricey. So guys, I really appreciate you stopping by and checking it out with me. Let me know what you think. Am I stupid? Am I crazy? Is it not? Is it better than what I'm saying? Because it very well might be. I'm not a fan, even though it's really well put together and is a good knife. It's got a lot of things that I don't like as far as knives, and I think it's overpriced. So let me know. Give me hell in the comments. Be like, Kyle, you're stupid. That's a freaking awesome knife. Let me know. Kevin, let me know. Anyways, guys, love you all. Stay safe in this crazy world that we are living in, and we will see you in the next one.